got me thinking.
Hey, you said it.
Will Caleb Bond come and visit me when I'm in an aged care facility? Well, there's an aged care place in Paran in Melbourne which have come up with a novel way of trying to alleviate loneliness and isolation amongst aged care people. They have come up with a companion robot. Now, this robot apparently recognises people, understands emotions, we're told, and is able to make friends. And those in the aged care facility, you can see there, are said to be treating the robot as a grandchild. Now, if this trial is successful, the intention is to put similar robots in 22 aged care facilities around Melbourne. I watched a report on one of the commercial news stations, and as they came back to the newsreaders, they were laughing and saying, oh, this is amazing, this is fantastic. I've got to admit, Caroline, I felt kind of sad about it.
Very sad. I felt
Firstly,
the same.
that we would accept as okay that, 60% of elderly people never get a visit from family and friends, but it doesn't matter because they've got a robot that they have befriended. And the thought that we would assuage our guilt for failing to take care of our parents and our grandparents because it's okay, they've got a humanoid, is a really sad thing, and I think an indictment on society. Second, I would hate to see this normalised because when machines start becoming friends, what are we saying about ourselves? That we are mere machines, and I hate to break it to you, but we're not mere machines. I think it was Francis Bacon who said, we are akin to the beasts in our body, but if we're not akin to God in our spirit, we are wretched and miserable creatures. Sure, we're flesh and blood, we're a machine, but there's a ghost in the machine, and that makes us very different to everything else on the planet. And third, there's a danger that people might come to prefer artificial relationships to real ones. Microsoft have come up with AI for the purpose of romantic relationships. And in China, it's proving to be very popular as young people say, you know what, actual relationships are just too hard. But a pre-programmed bot that is programmed to love me and never break up with me, I would prefer that. I think this is just wrong on all kinds of levels.
Look, I couldn't agree with you more. I was really sad to see that report, and I agree. I thought Channel 9 just treated it completely lightly. It was sort of like an end of the bulletin fluff piece about it, whereas I think the underlying message to it is how much we have let down our older generations. How is it that most people in nursing homes and aged care homes, 60% are not getting visits from anyone that they know, family or friends, and that they have to have a robot to provide companionship? And this is not going to be a one-off. They're apparently going to roll it out to 22 facilities across Melbourne, and no doubt it will go across the country. And sure, it looks cute, but there is no replacement for human connection. And I worry, James, I worry we are already at that point. Everyone is glued to their phone. They're on social media. It replaces real connection for a lot of young people. TikTok, social media, and they're losing real-life interpersonal skills, and they prefer to be on their phones even when they are in the company of other people. So I think we've already crossed that line, and it's only going to get worse. But I think it really speaks to our failure as a culture in a way that perhaps some other cultures, for example, Asian cultures, look after their elderly, and we just don't do that, and we don't have that sense of loyalty.
I think this is the worst thing about it, because you can say, OK, there's a problem here, they don't have people coming to visit them, so they need some kind of interaction. OK, we'll give them an AI robot to do it. But we've already tried this experiment with younger people, and in fact, it's not as bad what we've done with younger people. We've given them all mobile phones and computers and whatever, and said you can talk to other human beings through that device, which is, of course, what everyone now does. But look at the rates of depression and anxiety and whatever that you can now find in young people. Their readiness to leave the house and go out and actually catch up with people is not what it used to be, particularly after the pandemic. There was a really interesting study that was done looking at young people, as in, teens and early 20s, and their drinking habits before and after COVID. And what they found was those who were heavy, quote-unquote, drinkers before COVID reduced their drinking during COVID, and that reduction in drinking continued after COVID, mostly because they'd stopped going out and catching up with their friends post-COVID. So this is what has happened. Young people are not going out anymore. They're glued to the device. And we know what that's done to their brains. And now we're saying, OK, they did that almost by choice, and we're going to foist this upon older people in an even worse version where there is no human interaction whatsoever. Sure, maybe it's slightly better than having nothing going on at all, but it's not a human connection. I mean, a lot of older people in particular will turn on the radio and listen to talkback radio because it is a certain level of human connection, because you can hear other people's voices and you can pick up the phone and call a talkback line and talk to another person. We're saying, OK, they don't have a person coming to visit them, so we're going to make sure they don't have any people coming to visit them. A robot can do it instead. That's even less incentive to go and visit people in a nursing home.
When the woman who founded the company that created this robot boasted to the media, people see the robot as a grandchild, not as a robot, and that was a boast. I just thought that was an indictment, Kate.
It is. I don't blame the company, though, or the people, or even, the people putting this robot in. I think the problem is at a cultural level and a community level that we're not looking after our older people.